black fog. Everything, all of this chaos and madness began with the black fog. It was just an ordinary day when the news reported a strange phenomenon, a wispy black cloud of fog, steadily making its way toward the west coast of the country from over the ocean. Nobody really cared at first, as you would expect. It wasn't hurting anyone, except maybe the sailors and planes flying over the ocean. But life for everyone else continued as normal. Whenever the news would talk about what we know as the black fog, people would nod, show mild interest, say something like, "Oh yeah, that's interesting," and be done with it. Until the black fog hit the west coast. Cities on the seaside were the first to be hit and covered with the black fog. The news went crazy, every station frantically pointing their cameras at the fog to capture footage of the unique event. Personally, it always looked like a thick cloud of smoke to me instead of a city covered in fog. The news said that nobody from the outside world could contact anyone in the fog. A nationwide panic was beginning, and it grew fast. People who had previously disregarded the black fog now looked for ways to leave the country as the news reported that the black fog was still heading east as though that's meant to devour the entire country. With mass hysteria of this magnitude, it can safely be assumed that plenty of doomsday prophets came forward with explanations about the fog's origin. It quickly became obvious to me that these prophets of the apocalypse were nothing more than crazies who walk into the news station from off the streets. Nearly every scenario imaginable was told as a reason for the black fog system. God's wrath on humanity. The apocalypse is seeking a safe place to land a spacecraft. The black fog was simple fogginess with pollutants in the air. It was a public city stunt for a new movie. It was the government using the fog for some purpose. Cthulhu was rising. We heard everything, but none of the theories seemed to make sense. There was a few more days of chaotic news reports, and then the black fog came to my town. I was walking home that fateful afternoon, turning a street corner to see my two-story home come defeat on the streets. Cars breezed past me at a steady pace. Coming toward me down the sidewalk was a mother pushing a baby stroller with an enthusiastic little boy running ahead of her, cheerfully telling his mommy to hurry up. The grass was bright green in the warm summer atmosphere, and there were only a few white clouds in the sky to distract from the wind blew while beyond above. A red car, spattered with thick smoke, raced past me. The bright yellow orb in the sky beamed on the world, covering us in sunlight. If there's anything I remember from that day, it was the colors. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a dark giant stood up from the horizon and loomed over the city, putting out the sun. Cars stopped in the middle of the road, letting other cars crash into them. People began to scream. The mystical woman felt, "It's here!" As I looked up at the black fog floating out the sky. It swept over the city quickly, showing me in a cave of blackness. I stumbled through the fog, unable to even see my own two hands in front of me. The world around me looked as though it were covered in smoke. I could breathe normally. I heard people screaming, sound frightfully clear. There was a screeching of tires as cars stopped and a crunching of metal as other cars crashed into the other. In my mind, I could picture the street as it had been before the fog hit. My house was a few rows down across the street. If I could find my way inside, I could wait the fog out and see if it would disappear and leave the city. I began walking towards my house uneasily, still hearing people cry out for help. It was as though I had become blind. I took my steps with care and tripped over a blunt object when I was halfway across the street. I clung to my feet with my sense of direction disoriented. How close to my house was I? Just giving my best guess and made my way for it. I had to walk around the back car and the driving over the curb and falling onto the sidewalk on the other side of the road. My shoes felt grass between them. I wasn't entirely sure if it was my yard. I worked my way to the front door of the house and sighed in relief when I realized it was mine. I hurried inside, quickly closing the door behind me. The door with the fog and gone in my house, which I was thankful for. Only a little of it got in when I opened the door. I could still see. Windows is but nothing but black. It was as though I was standing in my house at night, a starless, moonless night. I sat down, took a few deep breaths to calm myself. And on the TV, I began to watch the news. If anything was being done about the black fog, surely they would have reported it. News anchors were calm, but to my dismay, they had nothing to report. They said the black fog was perfectly natural. unexplainable. They said that the entire nation was being covered at an unbelievably quick rate, and the president had been evacuated for his own safety. I changed the channel right there, cutting off a blonde newswoman mid-sentence. On the new channel, they weren't calling the Vogue natural. They weren't talking about the president. They weren't pretending this wasn't a national emergency. Instead, they were panicking. People who looked like normal civilians ran around the station in a frenzy while the cameras view rested on a guy sitting behind the news desk. Sitting in the middle of all the chaos, he stammered as he spoke, trying to maintain order somehow. There were no reports of rescues from any seaside city, nor did the black folk show any sign of receding. The guy was wearing, as I watched, he managed to stop one of the frightened civilians and asked him to say greetings to the camera. Hi, my name is Adam. Adam began breathing heavily. That shit out there is crazy, man. Like, like in fog. It's something else. I don't know what officers were forehead and cleared his throat. We had rumors that you can see in the black fog if you have a flashlight or fire. We sent a guy into the fog with one of those biggest flashlights. He hasn't come back yet. I remember all of him and could disbelief that this was happening. I better waited anything the news said, not that it said much. The only thing that they could talk about was the black fog, and because nobody knew anything about it, there wasn't much to say. Couldn't tell if it was day or night outside, so I tried to sleep according to the clocks in my house. I slept on the hardwood floor in the living room, too weary and afraid to climb upstairs to my bedroom. When I woke up, I immediately turned the TV on again. At the news station, there were sleeping people mixed with people sitting off camera who were in rapid discussion about what to do. It was as though they had forgotten the camera was on. I decided to wait and see if they were going to do what any piece of news that was worthwhile, and I went into the kitchen to fix myself something to eat. Fortunately, I had made a trip to the grocery store the day before it all started, but as my appetite still wavered when I looked at the food, the black fog didn't feel rich to me. I almost like some kind of demented nightmare, but it still hurt to think about. I went into the living room without eating anything, and sat down on the couch and stared at the TV, staring at the screen and listening to the people in the news station talk for an hour. I groaned. Survival was boring. I turned my head to the living room window and examined it from where I sat curiously. I think Adam had said something about being able to see in the black fog with. I jumped off the couch and stumbled over the closet. After shuffling through the coats and other miscellaneous thing, I found a flashlight. Clicking it on, I saw it was when a bright beam of light shot out. The first light I seen, it all started. I pointed the flashlight toward the living room window and froze. Then I saw a face outside. There was a man standing outside the window with his thin nose barely touching the glass. His face was horrible, yet I couldn't look away. His skin hung loosely on him, and he looked like an old man. He had long silver hair on his head, a few strands of which were dangling limply over the face, but also huge bald patches. There was a spot about the man was that he was smiling at me. He had a wide, toothy grin, but his eyes had black irises and white pupils. Near the bottom of the window, I could see that he was wearing a torn-up white shirt. But his smile hypnotized me. His eyes burned into mine. There was no color to the man at all. Even the tin cuts on the side of his face were inky black. He was nearly completely unmoving, only my fingers sliced a bit as he breathed. The light from the flashlight didn't seem to affect him at all. I moved closer to the window and rapped my fist on the glass. But the colorless man only stared. I turned the flashlight off and I managed to fit in the fog. I turned the light back on and it was visible again. Adam was right. It was possible to see in the black fog with a flashlight. I was intrigued by the colorless man, but also very frightened. How long has he been outside my window? A shiver ran down my back when I realized that he could have been watching me sleep. I was unnerved by his endless staring and amused smile. As much as I wanted to watch the news in the living room, I instead found excuses to stay out. I found myself working through the same pantry in my kitchen for almost half an hour. Whenever I found myself sitting on a chair in my room upstairs, quietly thinking that when the fog would lift, I couldn't stay out from the living room forever. I eventually went back. The first thing I did was flash the light at the window to see if the colorless man was still there. He was, and didn't seem to have moved at all, since I had first realized he was there. Unsettled, turning off the flashlight to conserve the batteries, but also so I wouldn't have to look at him. Made myself comfortable on the couch, and turned my attention to the news where Adam was talking. Things in the black fog are everywhere. He was saying, because the fog is probably covering the whole world by now. Stay vigilant. A miracle has to happen soon. It seemed that I wasn't the only one who had detected the presence of the things in the fog. And then there were reports of mutilated bodies on the streets with their eyes and their mouths and their teeth and their eye sockets. One of the news station drivers chimed in behind him to get more information. Sort of strange towns outside shave shelters where people were holed up waiting for it to end. There was no denying it. Something unnatural was in the black fog. Maybe something beyond the colorless man outside my window. I decided to sleep upstairs in my bedroom at night. I shined the flashlight out the window before trudging upstairs to see if the colorless man had slept. He was still there, only his eyes had moved to follow me. As I getting upstairs, I put the flashlight under my pillow, kneeled next to my bed, and did something that I hadn't done for a long time. I prayed. That night, I dreamed that the light had returned to the world. Families walked down sideways. Children shouted to each other as they played. Grass was a dark green and the sky burned blue. And the wind was crisp, and the caress in my cheek as it passed by. I looked around in wonder, and I noticed someone standing behind me. I whirled around to see the colorless man standing there with that same grin on his face. Only this time, there was no glass in the us. I woke up sweating. The first thing I saw was my bedroom window. Chris stared at the flashlight from under my pillow and pointed out the window, my thumb flicking the switch on. I don't know what I was expecting to be there. I was probably thinking that the colorless man would somehow be outside my second floor bedroom. Something was out there, but it wasn't him. This time, it was a woman with pale skin and long black hair. She looked younger than the colorless man, probably in her 20s, but she still had the same crooked grin, the same vacant eyes, and the same unsettling stare. She was also completely drained of color. Well, I immediately fell on my bed and screamed as the colorless man stared on. I crawled to my feet and slammed my bedroom door closed as I hurried out in the hallway. As soon as it had shut, I noticed another window in the hallway. I flashed the light at it, and guess when a fat, colorless man came into the light, grinning as though laughing at a private joke. I didn't know what to do. Trouble betting seized me. Was it me to flee from the unseen eyes in the black fog? I shined a flashlight to at every window I came across. For another colorless woman in the guest room window and a thin colorless man looking into the upstairs bedroom. Before I managed to reach the stairs, frantically flew down to them and dived into the kitchen where I ducked under the table and tried to catch my breath. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the kitchen window. But since I didn't want to know one of them was there, I still flashed the light at the window. This one was the worst one yet. He resembled a wolf with a white snout, shaggy black fur, and pointed ears, and he stared at me with wide, hungry, pupilless white eyes. For a crazy moment, I thought it must have been a wolf's claw or mask, but then a thick dog tongue slid out of his mouth and licked his chops as he continued to gaze at me. I was the colorless person at every window in my house. I realized, stumbled out of the kitchen to get away from the starving eyes with the colorless wolf, and found myself standing in the living room, with the flashlight on, and pointed at the window to see that the colorless man was still there, patiently waiting. As I stared, his grin widened and revealed fangs like razors in the back of his mouth. His eyes flashed red, the first color I'd seen since the black fog had arrived. Then the flashlight died, leaving me alone in the dark. As I stood there, blinking in the utter blackness that surrounded me and pressed in from all sides, something began tapping on the living room window. As if in response, the colorless people began tapping on every window in the house. So was maddening, complete ignition and growing louder, or freaking as every second crept past. And I've been listening to them ever since, all of them. Just tapping on the windows. The sound never leaves, never stops, never pauses. Listen to that endless noise. I just know that it's tearing my mental state in hell. I don't know how much longer I can take this. Is it a window break? I hope to God it isn't a wall. Credit to Alex Toro, The Black Fog. The end. I rated an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. And see if I could get a lot of reading for this. It was definitely fun to read. And yeah, goodbye.